In this report, we're going to focus on the 4 essential keys to effective communication by Bento C. Leal. Now, as an outline of this, the focus of this text is communication and how it affects relationships and how you can improve your skills to be a more effective communicator to build relationships. And the idea that Leal puts forward is that you should introduce the concept of empathy into the negotiation process. Now, he states that there are 4 key abilities or undertakings that you must take to integrate empathy into any conversation. And the first is to change your mindset, and that is to enter into the communication with the idea of empathy at the forefront. And this means cultivating an internal desire in yourself to empathetically listen to the other side. And to do this, you must undertake 2 tasks. First, you must view yourself as worthy of this empathy, worthy of understanding. And then you must view the other person equally as worthy of empathy, that you should seek to understand them or their point of view. From there, you need to listen empathetically. And this generally begins with giving the other person your undivided attention. And in order to do that, you must go through a process of clearing your mind of thoughts, because many of us listen simply with the idea that we are going to respond. We're thinking about our response while we're trying to listen to the other side, and that inhibits our ability to effectively listen, and thus makes our communication less personal in nature and ultimately less empathetic, which is a blockade to us endearing ourselves or establishing the relationship that we desire from the situation. So once we clear our mind, we are better able to focus on the words being said and to focus on the other person's body language. And from there, you can reply back and start to state your understanding of the situation. And this is the reference or acknowledgement that you are listening to the other person. It can come in the form of simply, I see, okay, I understand. You may even, when the opportunity arises, make certain that you interject with questions that simply allow furtherance of the explanation rather than changing the subject, which is very important. And then you get to the third ability, which is empathetic speaking. And this is where you actually organize your thoughts. Now, it's important here to think about what you are going to say ahead of time. And this is the gap that oftentimes people are worried about filling. They listen to something and they want to organize their thoughts, but instead they just start speaking rather than, once again, sorting out their feelings about the situation or the information that they've received. So the idea here is, if you can get clear and organized, then you can be, once again, clear and respectful in your communication back to the other person in how you express yourself to them. And the author proposes an XYZ approach, or an XYZ statement. And that is, first you explain the situation or the issue at hand as you perceived it. Now, what does that mean? Basically, you are acknowledging what you've heard and you're restating it back to the other person. This is my understanding of the situation. So you're saying that this is the case. And then you give your impression of it. That is, what you believe is right or wrong in the scenario, or what you believe is characteristic of it. Basically, once again, your impression of how that struck you, that information. And then you move into the Z portion, which is how, if that understanding is correct, made you feel. So how the situation appeared to you, and then how it made you feel. And then from there, empathetic dialogue. And this is the last of the 4 abilities. And this simply means to keep the conversation going. You've gone through this process of listening empathetically, clearing your mind, and speaking in a clear and respectful manner, using this XYZ approach to communicate information back. Well, this is going to trigger reciprocation from the other person. That is, they are going to respond to your statements. So once again, you recycle through this process of empathetically listening, factoring in and thinking about the information that the other person has added to the situation. That is, listening to their words, watching their body movement, and then organizing that mentally so that you can respond appropriately, once again, in a clear and respectful manner in the XYZ format, that you can show that you understood and you are listening empathetically to them. And once again, this back and forth will make up the dialogue of the conversation. So these are the 4 key abilities that the author proposes, are essential to communicating with the idea of fostering the relationship with the other party with whom you're communicating. And this concludes our coverage of the 4 essential keys to effective communication.